what type of tires we have to put on the car, so we never know what is the weather close to the sea, close to the mountain. It's always different. Sometimes you are on the clouds, sometimes it's sunny, so really difficult and demanding a lot.
This is a completely different tarmac than in other parts. You have a lot of grip, a lot of corners, so you need to be very focused on the face nose. It seems like this is a welcome rally, but we are 3,000 kilometers far from here. So, but yeah, here will be a lot of local drivers, also from Super Spanish Championship, a lot of really good guys.
It's really tough, the rally. We have many different styles of stages, and into the stage you have many different tarmacs, many different rhythms. Your mind has to be really fast and don't make mistakes.
So the rally is Las Canarias set to make its WRC bound next year. One of the ERC stars has also announced his own World Championship debut. Martin Sesk set to compete in an M Sport Ford Puma Rally 1 in Poland and his home event in Latvia in the summer.
For sure, now the hardest part will be the driving. The managing of that was hard, but it was, you sit in the office, but then you all need to get in the car. So yeah, very happy about that. But yeah, for sure it will be big pressure on myself, because I usually put pressure on myself, not the others. So yeah, but I think the most important part will be to enjoy and try to do our best. And then we'll see after that what's happening, because yeah, not every time you get an opportunity to
On this first asphalt round of the championship, road position is not so crucial, but the qualifying stage remained competitive. But with the fastest time in qualifying was last year's Canaries winner, Joan Bonato. The Frenchman surprising himself with pace that rewarded him with the honour of running first on the road on Friday. A position not necessarily an advantage on these treacherous tarmac tracks.
That was not my target. I expect a place between 10 or 12. I don't know why I break a bit early, maybe too late. And so that's not a good start, I think, because it's not the best position. We saw last year, we start in first position. It was really difficult, but it's only my fault. I was a bit too fast in this one, so doesn't matter. We will see tomorrow. Last year we start first, we lost around 30 seconds in the first stage, and then we won the rally with the 30 seconds, so we will see.
Behind Bonato was one of the rapid Spaniards in Diego Ruiloba, Hungary podium finisher Maciej Franceschi, and another local star in Jose Antonio Suarez. With less than 2 seconds between the top 10, it hinted at just how competitive the next 2 days could be. Rally fans mingled with curious onlookers at the ceremonial start in the heart of Las Palmas. A vibrant way to get this spectacular event officially underway with this warm welcome ahead of the opening action. And stage 1 would bring the rally into the city, a tight super special in the shadow of the Estadio de Gran Canaria, which features a unique donut sequence inside a basketball arena, and the shiny concrete surface would cause havoc for some of the early runners. Multiple Spanish and Canaries champion Luis Monzon had an early disaster. With more and more rubber laid down, though, the grip rapidly improved for the later runners, who could focus on putting on a show for the thousands of fans in attendance. Hayden Pallet made the most of the superior grip to claim the opening stage win. The following morning would see the real action in the mountainous interior get underway, with a loop of 3 stages repeated on Friday, just under 96 kilometres of racing against the clock, laying wait. And with warm, sunny conditions for the opening morning, Joan Bonato could enjoy a clear road ahead as the first man into stage 2. The Citroën C3's colour scheme given a nod to Sebastian Loeb's all-conquering Zara, and it was an impressive start from the Frenchman into the lead in the day's opener with a stage win. Mixi Chomosh had returned to Gran Canaria a year after a dramatic accident that forced the Hungarian to miss much of 2023. The Skoda driver was up to 3rd in stage 2, but in the day's second test, Once again, Chomos was caught out by these rapid flowing roads. It was another frightening one to watch, but testament to the strength of these Rally 2 machines that both Mixi and co-driver Attila Nagy would escape without major injury. Away from Chomos's dramatic retirement, John Armstrong would finish the morning strongly. Tyres and brake preservation was key to success on these abrasive, undulating mountain roads. The Irishman was 13th after stage 2, but a pair of top 5 times in the M-Sport-backed Ford Fiesta will see the reigning WRC 3 champion up to 6th. As expected, a number of local stars were in the mix. Diego Ruilova is currently second in the Spanish Championship, and although reporting his Pirelli tyres were all but destroyed by the end of the loop, the Citroën driver's second best time in stage 3 was enough to ensure a top 5 slot. Even our reigning champion Hayden Paddon had struggled to find a good balance in these bone-dry conditions. Understeer and low front-end grip was a constant complaint. It would be 4th place for the Kiwi, and set-up tweaks were needed at the midday service. Maciej Franceschi, meanwhile, would continue his fine start to the season. With that emotional first WRC podium from Hungary still fresh in the memory, the former French gravel champion was quick to prove his growing threat on asphalt. The 24-year-old passing his compatriot Bonato to take the lead in stage 3. As ever though, on these fast-flowing tarmac roads, the fight at the front would be fierce. And yet another of the Spanish Super Championship sluggers has saved his own tyres to perfection. Alejandro Cachon is currently 3rd in the National Championship and a WRC 2 regular last year. With a pair of stage wins to wrap up the morning, the Toyota driver would storm into the top spot.
Oh, you're 4 seconds faster than Johan Bonato in there. Tell us, what was the stage like?
The stage was quite long.
Soy Aida, de Carglass. Si tienes un impacto en tu parabrisas, no esperes a que se rompa.
Mejor, pide cita directamente en Carglass. Puedes hacerlo a través de nuestra web o por teléfono, eligiendo el día y la hora que mejor te vaya. Y no te preocupes por los trámites con tu seguro, que de eso nos encargamos nosotros.
Carglass cambia, Carglass repara.
Ahora en Carglass, por la reparación o sustitución de tu parabrisas, te regalamos una caja de herramientas Casals.
very demanding for the tire, for the brakes. But okay, I think we managed really well. The start, try not to push the tires, and now this downhill, big push. The time is okay. Thank you.
So after 4 different leaders in the opening 4 stages, Cachon held a lead of 3.8 seconds over Bonato, with his fellow Frenchman Franceschi on an identical overall time and Padden in fourth. The 5 different manufacturers in the top 6, underlining just how competitive the first morning to be. With the crews taking a well-earned break back at the Estadio Gran Canaria service park, it was time for the mechanics and engineers to shine. Cars would be repaired and setups were finessed ahead of a return to action in the afternoon league. The relentlessly rapid-flowing stages of Rally Islas Canarias were set for a thrilling Friday afternoon, with the heat rising on the sun-baked mountain roads. The fight at the front had already proved as unpredictable as ever. Spanish Championship frontrunner Alejandro Cachon had stormed into the lead with a brace of stage wins in the morning, only for a frustrating front right puncture to undo the Toyota driver's hard-fought advantage in stage 5.
Alejandro, we can see the damage. What happened?
I don't know. There are a lot of rocks inside in the inside. I don't know. Maybe I touched something and I punched.
Tyres and brake preservation was again key to success on these abrasive, undulating roads, and with Cachon's compatriot Jose Antonio Suarez finally finding the sweet spot, the local star moved into the top 5 in the final stage of the day. And as expected, there were a number of local stars in the mix. Diego Ruiloba is currently second in the Spanish Championship behind Suarez, and following his compatriot Cachon's frustrating puncture, the Citroen driver is running 4th and within touching distance of the podium places. After a disappointing morning in terms of his Hyundai's balanced midday setup tweaks saw improvement from Hayden Padden. With the rhythm returning, the reigning champion was up to 3rd, but remained frustrated with his lack of top-line pace. Matthew Franceschi had briefly claimed the lead in the morning, and with Cachon dropping back, it was now an all-French fight at the front. The 24-year-old maintained the pressure with his compatriot Joan Bonato at the second-best time in the day's 21-kilometre final stage.
Big day, we are happy about the performance today, and just thanks to my team because the car was incredible, the tires as well. Perfect, I hope tomorrow will be the same.
People say you're a gravel driver, but where's this tarmac speed come from? Are you finally waking up as a Frenchman?
I don't know, maybe yes. I think it's to my idol Sébastien Ogier.
Bonato had recovered his early lead from Cachon with a second fastest time of the day in the afternoon's opener. And with the abrasive asphalt red hot in the afternoon sun, tyre preservation was ever more crucial through the loop. And last year's Islas Canarias winner maintained his Michelin's well, doing just enough to keep his compatriot at arm's length.
John, tell us, how's the day gone? Are you happy with the lead?
Yeah, very happy with the afternoon, especially. The car is really perfect. The tires work well because this afternoon it was really higher in temperature, and I think the tire wear is better than this morning, so I think it's also because the car is better. So keep in touch, we continue tomorrow like this, and the fight is on. We have to push very hard, so it's fun.
Bonato's lead over Franceschi was incredibly just 0.3 of a second after Friday's 96 kilometres. Padden still there in 3rd, Ruiloba and Suarez 4th and 5th, and John Armstrong at 6th. It had been another thrilling fight through the mountains of Gran Canaria as we moved into the final overnight break. All would be decided on Saturday, with the leading trio looking relaxed in the early morning service despite the small gaps at the front. It was soon time to resume the fight on the final 6 stages. The warm sunny conditions continued into the last leg with a more urban feel to the route. Wider flowing roads awaited, so a slightly different driving style required in this fight to the finish. What hadn't changed was the pace of the Spanish Championship front runners. Former leader Alejandro Cachon was down in 17th after his Friday tyre damage, but had been on a flyer since. The Toyota driver climbed into 6th by the end of Saturday morning. The Spanish Championship leader, Jose Antonio Suarez, meanwhile had belatedly found a more rapid rhythm. There was a spin early in the 28-kilometre stage 9, but it sparked a remarkable fight back. The 33-year-old overhauling Diego Rueda for 4th despite that delay.
Jose, heard there was a brief stop in there. How was the stage? You were third fastest.
I'm completely stupid. I did a spin in the first roundabout, so Canarias for me is always make a spin, but anyway, I'm happy with the time. I have to put the reverse, I lose time, but keep pushing.
Rueda had made set-up tweaks to his Citroen C3 that hadn't paid off. By stage 10, though, he was back in the zone. A first stage win of the weekend saw the home hero back in 4th at the first time of asking. The increasingly intense fight between the three Spaniards had begun to pull Hayden Padden into their orbit. The New Zealander was doing just enough to hold on to 3rd, but the champion's ongoing frustrations with his high 20s lingering understeer was making his task even tougher. Up front though, the two flying Frenchmen continued to pull away. Machi Franceschi was doing what he could to maintain the pressure on the leader, but with crucial championship points at stake, the balance of risk versus reward was not easy to manage. Johan Bernardo, in contrast, is an ERC part-timer, so collecting wins is the 40-year-old's main objective. A pair of stage wins to start the day would remind the scrapping Spaniards behind who was boss of the island, and he continued to edge away from his compatriot.
It's perfect, the car is perfect, the team worked well this night because they work on the night on the computer, so they know what is the best solution for the setup now, and I think I have this, so thanks to everybody, and we will continue like this. It's a good look for this morning for us.
The margins, though, remained tight with less than 7 seconds between the Frenchmen, and it had all bunched up behind with only 7.8 between Padden in 3rd and Cachon in 6th. The scene was set then for a gripping fight to the finish through the magnificent mountain roads of Gran Canaria. Just 3 stages remained in the sunshine of Gran Canaria. A thrilling fight for top honours in the main ERC class, and plenty of eye-catching action in the support categories too. There had been an exciting scrap for top honours in the ERC 3 class. Igor Vidlak hunting down Karem Kazaz on the final day, from half a minute down to a class win for the Polish driver. We had an all-French fight at the front in the main ERC category, but in the juniors and ERC 4 two-wheel drive competition, it was a Swedish one too. Kalle Karlberg had been chasing down the leader since stage 2, but was set for a second-place result on his second junior ERC outing. But there was just no catching his compatriot Mille Johansson. The 19-year-old had taken the lead in stage 4, and after a stunning run that saw him claim 7 stage wins in a row, it would be a first ERC junior victory for the Opel Corsa driver to give him the championship lead after 2 rounds. With an impressive third...
Bueno. La pelota abajo, la cama tiene algo. Esta perra.
Porque yo libro la bola, yo no sé qué bola es lo que ella quiere.
Pues no sé, es que hay algo por la cama que todo el tiempo está llorando y no para, y no para, y no para, y no para. No para,
estamos aquello seguro.
Seguro, por eso con esto tiempo.
Te voy a dar un cucharazo hoy.
Esto es lo que ella quiere. Esto. Tienes que tocar los cojones todo el tiempo, tío. Pues no te voy a dar a la mierda. No te voy a dar una mierda.
Ya, se la acabó. Bye, bye. Suéltala al piso, ven.
Rally 2 cars starting, the 15-point scoring places would be keenly contested over the last few stages. Simon Wagner is a proven ERC podium finisher on asphalt, but the three-time Austrian champion had struggled to match the searing pace of the front runners. With set-up improvements made though, the Skoda driver was up to 11th. After 3 podium finishes in a row in Gran Canaria, Efren Arena had hoped for much more. Unable to dial his father into these winding roads, the former champion had started the final leg down in 16th, but a late recovery saw the Spaniard fight back into the top 10. Matt Osberg had missed the opening round through illness, so he too had hoped to jump-start his season. With a brake balance issue through much of the rally, the Citroën driver eventually resolved the problem to hold 8th place. John Armstrong had shone on what was his Rally 2 tarmac debut. Briefly in 5th on Friday, the Irishman had slipped behind the local stars, but remained set for a personal best 7th place finish, despite a final day intercom problem. And there was no let-up in the scrap for glory between our 3 Spaniards, with Hayden Paddon fading. This was now a fight for the final podium place. Alejandro Cachon claimed his 5th fastest time in the penultimate stage to move within 0.2 of a second of Jose Antonio Suarez. What a finale we had in store. Bonato led by only 3.7 seconds from Franceschi, and with only 0.4 of a second between the 3 Spaniards, it was too close to call. Paddon slipping to 6th. So it would all come down to the end of event power stage, just 11.5 kilometres of sinuous asphalt, with practically every position in the top 6 up for grabs. Hayden Paddon started the final day in 3rd, but the pace of the scrapping Spaniards had been too hot to handle. The New Zealander eventually conceding defeat, but 6th place would at least still provide crucial points for the reigning champ.
Yeah, not the result we wanted, but I can tell you it's not from a lack of trying. But heads up to the 3 Spanish guys. They've been going incredibly fast. Obviously, Franceschi and Banana as well. So yeah, we haven't had a bad weekend, but when you look at the result, it makes it look bad. So yeah, I think it's a credit to the championship.
The fight between the Spanish Championship front runners had been a joy to watch. Just 4 attempts separated the fired-up trio, remember. Diego Ruiloba found one last burst of speed in the power stage to beat Paddon by 2.9 seconds and lay down the early benchmark. Former leader Alejandro Cachon was next. The 25-year-old was down in 17th after dropping 40 seconds with his Friday puncher, but this had been an incredible fight back. The Toyota driver notched up 6 stage wins over the weekend, and with a time 2.5 seconds quicker than Ruiloba, it was over to Suarez.
It was amazing rally. The team Theo Martin Motorsport
did an incredible job. The car is amazing. Any problem all of the weekend, and it's amazing.
Jose Antonio Suarez started this final stage in third, but that inspired late charge from Cachon would prove too strong. The 33-year-old 5.8 seconds slower to slip from third to fifth, with the end in sight. Out front though, the two flying Frenchmen had continued their own stunning fight to the finish. After sharing the penultimate stage win with Cachon, Maciej Franceschi came into the power stage just 3.7 seconds behind the leader. His last blast wasn't enough to beat the Spaniard's benchmark, but would it be enough to take the win?
Absolutely no word, it's amazing. We don't expect to be at this place in Canada on tarmac, because I need to learn everything on tarmac. So just thank you to my team, thank you to everybody around me. It's amazing, thank you.
Johan Bernardo had led for most of the rally, but was made to fight right down to the finish to hold off his fellow Frenchman. The early splits were slower, but the Citroën star would maintain his grip on the top spot. The five-time French tarmac champion making yet another eye-catching cameo in the European Championship to claim back-to-back Rally Islas Canarias victories alongside co-driver Benjamin Balou for his third ERC win. It was a power stage win for Cachon, Ruelover second, with Franceschi, Bernardo and Padden also getting a bonus to their overall score.
We did a good job. All the mechanics worked well. The car was perfect. My engine, everybody, my family, my mother is here. So that's perfect. Second time, second victory. Why not perfect? We are so happy, and thank you my team, thank you everybody.
Bernardo took the win by only 2.8 seconds from Franceschi. Cachon with arguably the drive of the weekend to snatch his first ERC podium on the last stage. Ruelover fourth and Suarez in fifth. Padden settling for sixth. And those back-to-back podiums see Franceschi take the lead in the championship standings. Padden moves up to second. It had been one of the most competitive ERC rounds in recent memory, and a fitting advert for Rally Islas Canarias ahead of its World Championship bout next year. Congratulations again to Johan Bernardo, and the ERC returns for a second visit to Sweden's Royal Scandinavian Rally next month. For now though, it's goodbye. Are alive with the sound of rally cars. After an opening leg in the Czech Republic, the Central European Rally has shifted to the picturesque Austrian countryside and the new Beyond Borders stage, which, as the name suggests, crosses over to Germany before the flying finish. We get underway in around 7 minutes' time. So that CER is now 12 of 13 rounds in 2024, and the first sealed surface rally we've seen since Sebastian Ogier won Rally in Croatia all the way back in April. The season concludes once again in Japan, where it remains to be seen how many championships could still be decided. Because in the driver's title race, Thierry Neuville remains very much in control, with a 29-point advantage over his teammate on attack. If the Belgian scores 2 more points than the Estonian this weekend, a first drivers' championship will be his. In the manufacturers, Toyota had tripling nice advantage to 17 points in Chile, so the pressure very much on Ogier, Evans and Katsuta to take the fight to their home events in November. Neville would blast off into the opening super special on Thursday with a destiny in his hands. There was an early scare. It was the first corner of the rally, though. A spectacular night stage followed for an electric atmosphere in stage 2 with Ogier, our early leader. Neville's returning teammate Andreas Mikkelsen was briefly in third, finally finding an asphalt setup to his liking with the I-20. The Norwegian's pace was slipping low on Friday morning, and unfortunately, so was his grip on the road. The slide could not be recovered, and a heavy collision, unsurprisingly, Katsuta was also back after being benched for Rally Chile, and back with renewed purpose, returning to stage winning form in the morning. The Japanese star survived the changeable conditions well to hold fifth at close of play. Fastest time for Elfyn Evans in the 27-kilometre Strassin test. Briefly saw the Welshman take over third, and he remained well in touch with the podium places as the day progressed. But the pace at the front was relentless. A slightly undercut run through the final stage left him 15 seconds off the top spot. Following Mikkelsen's retirement, he and I had lost their safety net, so as well as taking the fight to Neuville, Tanak had to factor in some caution on the bumpy, broken Czech stages. He took over the highly coveted third place, though, before the morning loop was done. It looked as though early leader Ogier was beginning to find the Toyota Yaris a handful at times. Then changeable grip levels. Ever the competitor, though, the fired-up Frenchman picked up his second stage win to end the day and remained laser-focused on regaining the top spot. It was, though, the championship leader who made another huge step towards the first world title with a crucial slender hold of the lead at the end of Friday. Neuville doesn't need the win to seal it, remember, but the Belgians' relief at the end of a long, difficult day told its own story. After those challenging 8 Czech stages then, Neuville was out front by only 6.4 seconds, with the Belgians' closest rival Tanak only 1.4 behind Ogier. Both drivers and manufacturers' titles remained very much in the balance when we crossed the border to Austria and Germany on Saturday. At damp roads awaited for the opening test, Adrien Fourmeau soon to discover just how slippery. The Frenchman reporting a front differential issue was the cause of this wild trip across the field. But the thrilling fight for championship glory, though, has already taken another twist this morning. Tanak on an absolute flyer in the damp stage 9, a risky tactic in the conditions, but a very effective one. 5 seconds quicker than the early runners. And that pace was way too hot so far, anyway, for Ogier. The Frenchman 3.9 seconds slower, and he's dropped to third place. And even Neuville also found the road too dirty to attack as the last Rally 1 car into the stage. The championship leader's advantage over his closest rival, no less, is hanging by a thread. So, what a change then after that opening stage of the morning. Neuville still leads, but it's only 0.8 of a second now, and that is over his teammate Tanak. Ogier slips to third. After that, it remains the same. Evans, Katsuta, Pyrie, Fourmeau, and Greg Munster, the top 8. Nikolai Greisit currently leading the way in the WRC 2 standings. As mentioned, the new multinational Beyond Borders test, mainly run in Austria but ends in Germany. Just over 24 kilometres. It's Saturday's longest stage, the end section. Just some of last year's Multal test, but it's mostly a new challenge for all, and in typical Austrian style, features a lot of steep elevation changes, plenty of junctions, also an impressive jump at a sawmill 5 kilometres or so in. Becomes a bit more technical later on, some spectacular downhill hairpins. You might remember an overshoot from Cala-Rovanpera last year down there after a wet weekend in 2023, mainly dry conditions, quite a misty start to the day though. The anti-cut devices have been effective so far. It's an interesting new encounter here. Here's some thoughts of the drivers to tell us more.
Well, it's an interesting stage because we have two new parts in the middle of that stage, and then 2 parts that we know from last year. It's still quite flowing, but some downhill section under the trees where you have a lot of dirt and cuts, and also there is no sun, so it's quite unique. Yeah, it's quite
tricky and twisty and narrow sections quite often this stage. So they added a bit more anti-cut device this year. So shouldn't be so bad as last year, but still Calca itself is quite like a Czech stage. So it's not really easy stage.
We know the stage a little bit from last year. Some sections we used, but in general, quite a lot of anti-cuts, so it will stay very clean. Quite fast stages, I would say, on Saturday in general, but this one I like particularly. It's the longest one on Saturday, and overall a very nice stage.
A very nice stage then, says Mikkelsen. Great to see the Norwegian back in action this morning. So let's just run you through our start order then before we get underway for Saturday morning. And it is the man you just saw, Mr. Mikkelsen, who gets underway. He, like Formo, had a trip into field this morning already. Severidis, Munster, foremost. Sami Pyri making his Rally 1 debut on asphalt this weekend. Then Taki Katsuta, Elfyn Evans, and then the man on the move this morning, Tanak. Ogier slipping to third, as we just mentioned, and the all-important Thierry Deville. Can he hold on for this third title this weekend? As mentioned, it's Nikolai Bryzin leading the way in WRC2, and there's a bit of news developing this morning in the leading support category. We'll get back to that a bit later. Meanwhile, from one Norwegian, I'm going to pass you over to another. I'm delighted to say over Brynildsen, just took me through these first few corners of his compatriots. Andreas, who I mentioned, had a little bit of a scare already this morning, just underlining how tricky these conditions are, I think.
Yeah, he just hit one of these anti-cuts and missed the line, and all of a sudden he finds himself on the field, and it's so slippy, especially when it's a bit wet in the grass in the morning. It's a little expedition here on the field, but lucky escape he came back.
Yeah, he was a lucky boy. This at least looks quite dry here, but as I mentioned, that mist and low fog will make visibility maybe a little bit tricky. There's a bit of a climb up in here as well, as you can see already.
I mean, it looks much more dry now, so I think it's like the stage looks, at least from the first 2 seconds, it's still dry.
Just step back and enjoy this ride. Torstein Eriksson, of course, in the pace racer here. Nice flow to it early on. Don't see too many stages, do we, that cross borders? I mean, I think we used to obviously have one in Sweden, obviously into your homeland Norway over the years. Maybe we used to have one Northern Ireland into Ireland. It's a kind of nice unique thing, isn't it, to cross border on one stage? And I guess it underlines how special this event is, doesn't it? A really great edition last year, featuring Czech Republic, Austria and Germany.
Yeah, I think everyone has been border, and not so many cross the border. So like you say, around Sweden, going into Norway and back into Sweden again. Croatia is really on the border actually to...
Ya. ¿Sabes? ¿Qué pasa? ¿Que quieres estar allá?
No, porque de verdad que falla la pelota. A este ahora niño y tú con la puta pelota todo el tiempo allí.
Agarra, dásela a mí y dásela a Loli, cerrámela esa puerta. Dame la bola a mí. Dámela arriba la bola.
Pues mira, está la pelota se la metió bajo la cama. Estaba durmiendo la niña y ya estaba tocando los cojones allí bajo la cama con la pelota.
No que tiene hora.
Sí. Se ha quedado, tú te has ido. Estaba allí ante la puerta sentada y llorando. Pues ya.
Espérate ya que te... Habla todo eso sin valorando.
La semana que viene. Me voy a coger con mi amiga, ya lo hemos hablado hoy, como está Angie, nos vamos a ir las dos con las niñas a la playa. Dice, preparo yo una tortilla de patata, lo cogemos, pues con esto y nos vamos a la playa, que haga así un tiempecito así bueno con las niñas. Dice, nos vamos a las 10 de la mañana, a las 11.
Cuando ya regresó la visita aquí en la pasilla de todo, la niña
Dice, y...
mira, ya yo me empañetando.
Y me ha dicho, dice... Ahora dice cuando eso, dice vamos a quedar con los maridos, dice para que se conozcan, hacemos una comida con las niñas, felicitarme. No, ya no estaba en el
no, ese temprano,
él está viviendo ahora con
Pero tú me dijiste que estaba viendo una publicidad.
sí, a lo primero.
¿A cenar?
Sí, pero ella la otra dijo que tiene un novio.
A mi hermano se ha hecho un novio, yo no sé qué, y ahora estaba yo viviendo con un novio y se están comprando un piso.
Por eso me dijiste que estaba viendo una publicidad.
No, lo están quitando. Y me dice, vamos a hacer una comida, dice, para estar con las niñas, pero yo, con los maridos, tal. Digo, dice, a ver si se llevan bien, dice, se pierden los dos, me frente a ella, dice, a tomar cerveza por ahí, a ver el fútbol. Dice, que no vuelvan.
El fútbol puede ser. Que un día ve una partida, si no se problema.
Dice, pero así que sabes si que te caen bien, dice.
Ya, volver a 140. Le faltan 3 o 4 minutos.
¿Te parece bien?
Todo lo que tú hagas. Oye, tú tienes un marido que te apoya en todo. Hasta si pega cuerno, pero te boté ese mismo día ya.
Le pongo el bañadorcito a mí, me lo llevo toda la
Tú vas a hablar conmigo. Te estoy activando, muchacha. Suéltame esa perra, mujer, que yo lo que quiero es pagarle más de ese. Tengo que mandarle 180 y pico euros a ese muchacho, que tengo el corazón así, y tengo cuarto, pero que a mí no me gusta tener tensión, ni me gusta tener esa clase de compromiso, que no me gusta que la gente ni lo piense, no, que me gusta esa vaina del diablo a mí. Que YouTube se elimina esa vaina del diablo. Yo no lo dije ayer, que YouTube sí cree que borre todo. Que yo no puedo tener un sitio que yo me sentí incómodo cuando me hago el baile. Que yo tengo que ser yo, y si no, que lo borre. Ah, pues yo no hice 10 directo ayer y la aprendí. Ah, pues otro hace y deshace, y yo no voy a hacer. Ah, pues yo soy que una percha. Con engancharme ropa arriba. Ya yo estoy fluyendo, ya, mira, esto que ya a mí no me tumban nada. Y va a haber bobo, niño. ¿Cómo? Ah, pues yo le voy a hacer la tempal de ahí, si yo quiero verme bailando taca-taca. Hoy ya yo de toque vivo. Yo dije, yo me piden esto y yo le hago esto. Pues claro. Y ahora si hay que echarle cambio con un cacao, también me pongo una vaina. Y a ver así también. Y después venimos con la escena con las cosas de la gente de Cuba y Francia, porque yo tengo la comparsa. Sí, yo estoy del equipo viejo también. ¿Cómo? En directo vamos a hacer una vaina. Vamos a hacer una vaina que vamos a ir virando. Lola, yo me atrevo, yo estaba pensando, yo no quiero, pero yo sé que podemos hacer una vaina en burla. Y yo no quiero porque yo soy más, a ejemplo, a ponerme un papel. Me lo dan y con detrás a que 15. Me tiraste un cálculo falso. Me estafaron. Compré los iPhone y me compré una máquina.
Con varilla.
Una maquinita para allí. Yo la pongo esto, que a mí me gusta también mi vaina, ¿no? Lo puse como una luna en el dorso. Ah, pues si quieres hacer la papá. Sí, estoy bien. El que está haciendo todo, lo que tú me cambio. ¿Tú te partiste los likes? No, ¿verdad? ¿Tú no te partiste ahí nunca? No. No, porque veo como ahí como una manita, un clarito. Será una partida de Ah, por ese rally en la ciudad, mi loco, ¿viste cómo pasa enfrente de esa casa? Ahí por eso que mi gente se lo está tripeando, que está en su coche así en el supermercado, así, tengo el directo mío así. No, yo soy el dueño. Es que me dijeron ahorita que hablo, ¿no? Estoy aquí, mi familia. La gente.
¿Cuándo lo haces en el canal de Ratito?
Ah, no se puede. No se diré. Hay que tener 50 suscriptores. O cuando yo le doy equivocado en el otro canal pensando que es niño. La llave.
Use this because it's important to place them in the right place. They destroy like the
Baja con cuidado, suave.
Before in the corner and try to get try to keep the rhythm around the corner, and the impact is really important for us to find the sharpest place on the corner. So and it seems like the management presents some places
No le digas tanta vaina a la gente ya. Déjala que pasen 4 días. Por lo menos, va a ser que se vaya.
Yes, good point. Actually, think about that. You see that
No le hables así suave, usted le dice suave primero suave. Por eso, mira, su cocina creo que son consideradas por los niños. Yo no vengo aquí a enseñar ni vengo a bailar, pero aquí hay que se consigue. El primer jugadito, porque no te puedo querer primero matatán y que venga a controlar. Eso va a que tienen de odio, no. Llévate de mí nada más, tú consultas conmigo y le dices lo que yo te digo. Eso no te baja o es que eso por página por la misma vez. Eso es lo que vale, ¿no? Pues lo vamos a poner.
Se le puede hacer una oferta, lo que digo que no me va a
Ah, ya, vale, una oferta. Vale, eso sí que lo vamos. O sea, vale, lo va a hacer.
So it's Andy lead the way. Some of that actually has the Andreas, of course, he's certainly maybe not today, maybe the Super Sunday points at the stage but still coming into play. But he was kind of there as the safety net in a way, wasn't he, for the manufacturer's bit, I mean. Yeah, just call it points if
No, porque esperando lo que y tengo la pelota mía en los controles. Métame el seguro a lo mío. Que yo no tengo visita. ¿Tú tienes visita? Ninguno, porque cierra. No, pues si tienen yo la dejo aquí, porque no digan que no tranca. Estoy en directo, está grabado. Papá, qué copeta me diste. Si yo juego, míralo ahí. No tiene que rellar. Que lo ha dejado.
La rechazó.
Vale, no importa, lo vamos a usar. ¿Tiene dinero?
Ahora me tienen que dar 6 euros más 3, 6, 7, 8 y 9. Faltarán los gastos de envío, que serán 2 euros con 15 y 50. ¿Lo escuchaste?
Todo.
So open to full mode.
Agárrate, me la doy. O la pongo yo a todita de nuevo. Porque estaba contigo, pero voy con ella ahora. Pero dile a Lola que te arregle eso. No, dile a Lola que te arregle eso.
No le dan todas las cosas, borré la de fuerza de mujer y la otra la
o entra de lo mío, abre el mío ahí, abre el rally. Y conéctate del rally. Mi canal, loco.
Te lo bloquean desde mi móvil.
Oh, míralo, de mi móvil. ¿Y qué es lo que tiene tu móvil? Cacuejura. Como le decía yo ayer, el del barrio mío, Cacuejura. Jura es un río. Eso es un río. Lo digo como le decía ayer, váyate, Cacuejura. Ahí no era bien.
Mira, ya llegó. Eso es un mando. Que se llama Friday. Ay, se voy a
No. ¿A dónde? ¿Y qué me importa a mí? ¿A dónde?
Pues ahí abajo de la casa.
No, suelta eso ahora mismo el sol que hay. Y vamos a comer. No, si quieres te vas tú sola, ya no me la pregunto. Claro.
Ella casi quiere.
Eso es seguro un envío de una vaina, porque tú tienes que ir en patinado huyendo. ¿Qué es lo que tú dices?
Porque ya tengo ahí el este. ¿Ya ha llegado tu paquete?
Porque cuando ya eso se busca me tarde no me hace falta ahora mismo.
¿Cómo que no?
No.
¿Un mando?
No.
Hace falta un montón.
Tía, no venga a tocar los huevos para acá, mi loca. Te lo juro de corazón. El marido tuyo soy yo. Ya te dije que no y de que no.
Mira.
No te estoy hablando a mí de vaina. Hablo de vaina a mí.
Yo no doy el castigo.
Tengo con el corazón casi las 12 del día y ya tú quieres salir para la calle con este solazo. Yo pregunto si la comida está.
Sí.
Lo que te gusta es fumar cigarro, muchacha.
Mira.
Coge tu nota. Tienes que cambiar ahí ya.
¿No coge la pelota, Vibra?
Me metió ya por ahí, ahora quieren un control, ahora le tiran poquitín y vas huyendo también. Por eso tú no tienes rienda suelta, muchacha, por eso porque te quitan todo tu...
Que te calles.
Ese sí me gusta.
Mejor silenciarlo porque nos cae.
No, ya le gustan eso, el tiquitiqui. Hoy 36 oyendo el tiquitiqui.
A mí no te lo tiene.
Claro, niña. Oye, no hay gente con un supermercado, hay gente con un camión de pan. Mira, le estoy yo con ustedes. Tiquitiqui. Ya voy a poner caldero, porque la rota está, lo pongo aquí a la rota. No, pero el caldero con la patata. La patata ahí, la rellena, ahora vamos a poner. Yo la boté, como yo me voy a comer una vaina amanecida, matarle y darle el gallo tuyo del culo. Bueno, pues como estaba yo matado con lo que tú me echaste en el té. No, que está grabado en el directo.
No te mueres.
Y esa mala no muere.
No, este no.
No, por lo menos ya le bajó la intensidad.
Mira.
Definitely something is broken in his front differential connected to the gearbox. Yeah, and it is obviously right from the start of the day, wasn't it? Which is really frustrating because, you know, they had this really good test that sounded quite confident coming into this rally, but I think from what he said yesterday, I think the test, I think he said it was actually really wet and they were kind of...
La Yayi, el gallo en el carro que me está viendo.
Sentado
rodando como
un
No, ellos se arrancan hasta el coño también.
It's so difficult, isn't it? I mean, this is just
no, un día de
adding insult to injury after the problems yesterday.
Tú me viste, ¿verdad? Tú me viste, ¿verdad? No, pues yo se lo dije a la niña, tú me viste.
¿Mi madre no estaba aquí?
No.
Claro, que pasé por ahí de la...
Pero que tú no estabas en la casa.
Y le dije,
Tú no estabas en la
casa.
No.
¿Cuánto te ha pasado 2 veces?
Pues fue 2 veces.
Porque la necesitaba al niño que estaba comida y ahora a llevar las patatas al perro.
Oh, sí, Sandra. Cuando ella ya le pasé con el pantalón.
Y vuelve a poner con el pantalón.
Y dice, Lili, ¿por qué vuelve y pasa? Le digo yo, o para que vean que está mucho el pantalón. No, ¿verdad, Memo? No, es verdad.
No, pasó antes, no pudo antes.
Es verdad, Sandra.
Con todo el paquete más, con la
Yo eres
cámara.
hija de babosa.
Digo, mira, lo digo,
Yo lo voy a buscar. No, porque yo quiero, yo ahora estoy recortando, que yo ahora estoy recortando y yo volví a me senté aquí ahorita, yo soy un huevo, ¿verdad? Que siempre como que algo.
Dilo.
No, como que yo pasé que recortando, sí, como que pasé fue normal. Y ahora yo recuerdo que Sandra me dijo algo, fue en verdad.
Mira, sí. Así pasó, con todo el paquete por ahí. Y cuando llega aquí, casi al final, se pierde. Y pone el culo.
Mira, cállense. Ese viejito, miren ese viejito. Ese viejito manejando, ese viejito manejando. Ese viejito, está duro ese viejo. Mira, Sacha, pero ni lo de la gana grita. Oye, denle a me gusta al directo, denle a me gusta al directo. Que eso es en directo, que está, eso es en tiempo real. Denle a me gusta al directo y pongan comentarios, manden corazoncito, pongan comentarios si les gusta la carrera, el rally de hoy. Si no me dicen y lo quito. Pónganme comentarios si quieren que lo dejen. Y si no veo comentarios lo quito. Pues yo no voy a estar gastando mi internet y mi luz aquí y ustedes viéndolo y no ponen ni comentarios ni le dan a me gusta. ¿Qué es lo que ustedes dicen? Con careta. Yo no he bajado. Hay poco, pero yo no he bajado. No, hay, a ver, si bajas, caería bien, la verdad. Porque ya ahí trae el pan, hay aguacate, no traiga. Si tú quieres traer uno, porque ahí no está, ahí me lo voy a meter yo. ¿Cuál? Una que hay de ayer. Pero que soy sincero y soy humilde. Si quieres, trae. Sí. Hay 2 aguacates enteros, no traiga. Y una Coca-Cola, una barra de pan. Y si lo haces rápido, trae unos sobrecitos de queso. Amarillo. O si hay blanco con amarillo, no trae la cosa muy cara. Que echárselo a mi padre. Así papiado. ¿Le llegaste? Vete, voy a freír mi batata. Me come fácilmente en un rato. Mira la 2 y ya está la comida. Gracias a Dios. ¿No van a poner comentarios? Vale. Yo tengo que aguantarme. Sí, yo me aguanto con esto, sí. No, yo salgo ahorita. Lo mío a las 5 cuando vaya a llevar. ¿Qué era lo que tú quieres? Cuando vaya a buscar el paquete del. No. A mí no me hace falta el valle de ahí.
Que vaya por las callitas.
No, Sandra, te está pasando ya. No, mira. Yo te voy a... Oye, mira.